Now, ladies and gents, finally, NEO just announced their Q4 earnings, and I must say I'm quite excited about the earnings because in most of the things that we discuss when we're looking at what to expect into these earnings, ladies and gents, NEO managed to give us what we were expecting, or how at least would expect NEO to report the earnings. I mean, NEO saw total revenues of over $2.4 billion, which was, of course, an over 6% increase year over year, which is something that is pretty good. Though these revenues were lower than the revenues they generated in Q3, I mean, it is a year over year increase, which is something that is really commendable. Now, for the earnings per share, NEO saw an earnings per share of around 39 cents. Now, this is good because, ladies and gents, 39 cents. Yes, we know that NEO still needs to do some work, but it is not very far from NEO getting to profitability. So we hope that the more we see NEO delivering more vehicles, is the more we are going to get to see, of course, the earnings per share getting closer and closer to, of course, zero, which then will result in us seeing NEO going to profitability. Now, ladies and gents, the main thing that really excited me on to this earnings is, of course, the guidance that NEO gave for the Q1 deliveries. I mean, so many of the people, even analysts, big financial institutions like Deutsche Bank, came and said that they anticipate NEO to deliver around 25,000 deliveries, which in the video I did on the weekend, I said I believe that NEO could deliver more based on the fact that they are going to start delivering 2024 new models. Or now in March, they are starting to deliver some of the 2024 new models, which that will boost, of course, the deliveries, which today NEO came and gave or issued a guidance of around 31 and 33,000, and of which, ladies and gents, knowing that NEO, after last week delivery announcement of February, we know that NEO's January and February, they were sitting at just over 18,100. It therefore means that if we are to subtract the upper limit of 33,000 against the, of course, total deliveries that NEO has for January and February, it therefore means that NEO hopes to deliver around 14,800 deliveries now in March, which is something that is pretty amazing, pretty good, because, ladies and gents, not only are they going to beat, of course, the total deliveries that, of course, they reported in Q1 of 2023, but this is going to be the highest deliveries that NEO would have reported or has reported year to date, which is something that is pretty good because it shows growth into deliveries, which is something that is pretty exciting. Though the lower limit makes NEO to report 1% lower than last year's deliveries, which I personally think that we are going to see that, and that is, of course, 31,000, and that will mean that, of course, NEO will then, for the lower guidance of 31,000, they will have to deliver 12,800 or over 12,800, which is still not bad, but we know for sure that chances are very high that NEO is going to report deliveries more than the kind of deliveries they reported in Q1 of 2023, which is something that is pretty good. So delivery wise, we can expect NEO to deliver probably over, I can say, 13,000, just to be maybe just to average the deliveries. But one of the good things from what we saw in Q4 is that NEO has showed its capabilities of beating the guidance that they issue, meaning that we could see NEO delivering over 15,000, because this is the very same thing that we saw NEO producing or doing when they announced or when they deliver their December deliveries. It made them beat their expectations or deliveries expectations, because for Q4 you will know that NEO anticipated to deliver between 47 and 49,000, and we saw NEO delivering over 50,000 deliveries. And so therefore, even for this one, and therefore even for this quarter, I can still see NEO going over 15,000 deliveries. It is possible because, ladies and gents, like I said, the new cars are obviously going to attract the consumers to come and buy more of these cars. This, ladies and gents, to me, the reason why I say it is something that really excited me is because, especially knowing that there are also big analysts that have came out, or that had initially came out to say that NEO is not going to sell that much in Q1, which is something that, to know that NEO comes and reiterated the very same thing that I sort of like had predicted or projected when I did a video on Saturday. it is something that makes me to be really excited. Now, going to the, of course, another metric or something that also makes me to be or something that made me to be excited, but not more than the guidance, of course, was the cash at hand, cash and cash equivalents. NEO had total cash and cash equivalent at the end of Q4 of around $8.1 billion. Now, this is something that, of course, we knew it was around here, especially after the Abu Dhabi investment of over $2 billion or of around $2 billion. This is something that we projected as investors to say that the cash and cash equivalent in Q4 should be around $8 billion, and to see that it's at 8.1, it makes me to be really excited. Now, one thing that, though we are talking about all these good things that NEO managed to do on their Q4, one thing that they fell short is, of course, the gross margins. Gross margins, ladies and gents, they fell short. And yeah, right now, I think as I'm doing this video, the market has not reacted that much. The volatility is not that much. It's still up 1%. Yeah, so the gross margins for Q4 came at 7.5%. I mean, analysts like Deutsche Bank were expecting a double digit, which to get to see a 7.5 or a single digit 7.5 gross margin, this is something that was a bit disappointing from these earnings. Vehicle margin came at, is it 11.9%, which again it was pretty low from what we expected, or I expected. This is the only place where NEO fell short, but otherwise, on the other aspects of the, of course, earnings, NEO did really well. I mean, the total vehicle sales were around $6.9 billion for the full year. Or before we get to that, the total revenues for the full year of NEO went over $7.8 billion for the entire 2023. NEO saw total, of course, revenues of $7.8 billion, which was a 12.9% increase year over year. Vehicle sales out of these over $7.8 billion equated to around $6.9 billion. Now, other sales or the other revenues came from, of course, non-EV sales, which is NEO lifestyle products, charging, battery swapping, which, ladies and gents, was $895 million. This is almost $1 billion that NEO generated outside of their normal EV sales or car sales, which is something that is pretty good because it was a 69% increase year over year. This is where we get, I presume, the battery swapping stations cost that the consumers or those that have subscribed to BUZZ, they pay when they do battery swap, which is something that is pretty amazing, pretty good, because NEO, it looks like we might see this year NEO, ladies and gents, having full year revenues of over $1 billion from these very other sales. So this is something that is pretty amazing, because the more people go and swap their battery, ladies and gents, the more we're going to see figures like other sales growing drastically. I mean, you will know that from the partnerships that NEO has been doing. Those partnerships are going to bring in more revenues onto the NEO other sales, together with, of course, the more and more vehicles that NEO is going to continue delivering. This is something that is pretty good, pretty amazing, and I cannot wait to see this figure or non-EV sales surpassing the 1 billion mark, which will be, I think, a big milestone, or one of the big milestones annually. This is something that is pretty good. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick update. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey. And before you buy NEO, it is always good, ideal that you do your own DD so that at least you can be comfortable as you are investing onto this stock, as it can be quite volatile. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.